As business owners, how do we keep up with and even excel with the surge of content marketing? Join us for this wealth of knowledge on content marketing strategies from our experts when we come right back to the Co-Marketing Masters Show.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Welcome back to the Co-Marketing Masters Show, where we talk all things marketing and business. I am your host, Kathleen Driver, and I'm joined today by Co-Marketing Master Antionette Blake and our special guest, Linda Griffen. We are so excited to have Linda join us to share her wealth of experience and knowledge. Linda is a book coach and content marketing specialist with Grassroots Marketing Systems, LLC. And you all know our marketing podcasting master, Antionette Blake. Ladies, welcome. Let's get it started.
Good evening. Good evening.
I think we can all agree that there's an overwhelming amount of content available to us at our fingertips, whether that be through computers, tablets, or our phones. Let's discuss why, as entrepreneurs, we should create relevant content and how to set our content apart to make it appealing, meaningful, and useful. But first, let's define content marketing. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. Ladies, based on the definition that we just shared from the Content Marketing Institute, how can content creation and content marketing be incorporated into any type of business? Linda, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Kathleen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
And yes, every business can incorporate content marketing because content marketing spans so many different media. It can be print, it can be social media posts, it can be video, it can be audio. So every business, regardless of the type, can find one of those areas that they can produce some content.
Great. And Antionette, what are your thoughts on that?
And my thoughts on content, a lot of people say that content is king. What I like to say is content may be king, but let your readers, let your customers, your clients wear the crown. Oh. And what I mean by that is make sure that your content is so good and it's consistent that people that are reading it want to share it, because they're branding themselves for you. They're becoming the advocate of your particular business. So the content that you're creating is shareable, and you become likable.
So almost like a reverse engineering type of approach, is that what you're saying?
Yes, because actually we all have content. Businesses have an abundance of content. And it does not even have to be just specific to their niche, because as humans, we're multidimensional. So there may be content that you have that reflects my personality as a wife, or as a mother, as a consumer, as an executive. So the content can be changed up.
That was exactly my next question. So you don't think that your content that you create as a business owner, that doesn't have to be directly related to your business? You can kind of blend your personality with your interest, with your activities. I mean, how does that really work? For a person like me, I wear so many hats.
Right.
So I'm a project manager, I'm an author, I'm a business coach. So for somebody like me, that's just three things. Right. I haven't even really talked about, other hats that I wear. So for somebody like me, then I'm interested in, social consciousness. So for somebody like me that, has their hands and wears so many different hats, I have my hands in so many things, I wear many different hats, what kind of content should I create?
Well, we're all multidimensional. We're not flat. Like you said, you wear many hats. Linda wears many hats. I wear many hats. Now, businesses know that they have to become likable, because long gone are those days where we would just throw away our money all willy-nilly. Now we have to make sure that the product, the service that you're providing touches us. You know, one of those, as a mother, as a wife, as an advocate, as an author, whatever. So the content that they're creating should not be just about buy me, buy this product. Right. It should be about the human side, because that engagement, remember we talked about the relationships.
Yes.
Marketing is a relationship.
Right. Right. And I like to use the 80-20 rule. So 20% of the time should you be selling, and 80% of the time should you be doing something else, building that relationship. Because as we all know, people buy from other people they like and trust. The way you build that trust is to put information out there so that people get to know you, get to like you, and that's 80% of the time. And only 20% of the time do you offer to sell them something. Because if you go out with content marketing, and I've seen a lot of businesses do this, they will post on social media, but every time they post it's a sale. Buy this, buy this, buy this, or they'll email, buy this, buy this. If that's all people see, they will tune you out.
Exactly.
And they won't even open your emails. Mm-hmm. But if you intersperse that with, hey, I went here for vacation, or this is what we did for Thanksgiving, or here's my hobby, or here's the nonprofit that I'm interested in, now all of a sudden you become likable and people start to pay more attention, and then they don't mind when you sell them something.
So is it likable and also relatable?
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
So then my next question would be, is there such a thing as posting too much? And Antionette, I'll start with you on that one. As a podcaster, and I know you post a lot, and so, you know, is there such a thing? Because I know sometimes, you know, I love social media. I mean, social media is my thing. But there are some folks that I think when I see their posts, I'm like, I don't even want to see what they're saying, because I feel they post too much. But as a podcasting and content expert, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let's talk about the business side of it.
Okay.
You know, when you're talking about overposting TMI, you know, on a personal page, it can become overwhelming, because you have to remember you have a specific target, a specific amount of people, maybe 1,000 people that are following you, and not everyone's seeing it at the same time. So it does seem redundant. But on the other hand, with a business, their audience is so far and wide that if they're posting consistently, it may not be seen by their audience all the time. That's why they use their analytics to see when people are coming.
That's
and
right.
so no.
Right.
So there's a dual, you know, personal, yes, you can. TMI, definitely. But as a business, as long as you're consistent and strategic in your posting, I don't think that you can really overpost.
That's interesting. And I personally think sometimes you can, but I'm going to defer to you as the expert. And Linda, what are your thoughts?
I think if you mix it up too. In other words, don't just post the same thing all the time. If you look at the path that the person takes before they buy from you, first they're looking for information. And then after they get some information, now they're going to compare you to your competition. And then once they do that, then they're going to figure out, well, what will make me purchase from Linda versus purchasing from someone else? So each one of those steps, you can put different information out there. So you can post every day or 3 times a day, but mix it up to go after the person who's looking, the person who is in the analyzing standpoint, or the person who's ready to buy.
So it sounds like you both are really saying targeted marketing in terms of the content. So, and if I'm hearing you correctly, it doesn't have to always be related to my business. It could be, you're saying it could be a mix of my business, my personal, my interests. So then if I use all of that and I combine that, how then as a business owner does that give me a competitive advantage over my competitors? How does that work? And Antionette, we'll start with you on that one.
Well, there is an overabundance of content out there, and everyone is trying to find their niche. It's almost, I attribute it to driving down 95 and see billboard after billboard, so it can be overwhelming. But if, like Linda says, if you niche and if you find content that's relatable, maybe it's perhaps something that's happening in the community. It's not just about you.
Gotcha.
And I think if you focus your content on solving the problems of your target audience, you can't go wrong. There's a thing that I call evergreen content, which is, for example, I help people with books. One of the questions I always get is, how do I copyright a book? That's an evergreen topic. So if I write a blog post or an article about that, that can live forever unless they change the rules on copywriting. But let's say next year is the Olympics. I might write a post specifically about the Olympics. That's more current content. So if you mix those two things, again, remember, people are searching for you first online. And so Google is presenting what they feel is the most relevant information. And if you're solving a problem, then that's going to come to the top of the search engines.
So is it really true that, and I read this statistic a long time ago, and I don't know if it's changed, you only have like 3 to 5 seconds to grab someone's attention online because of the overabundance of information. So then in that 3 to 5 seconds, Linda, I'll start with you as the content specialist. In that 3 to 5 seconds, how can I, as a business owner, grab that person's attention so that when they see me come up online, they're not like me and scrolling past someone that I think is posting too much? How do I grab that person's attention?
Two ways. One is with a graphic. Everything is visual now, so if you get a compelling graphic, that's the first way you catch someone's attention. The second way is with a headline. Come up with a juicy headline that's going to interrupt the thought process and go, oh, what's she talking about? I need to click further and learn more.
Awesome. And
that
Antionette,
is a great tip.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that because we are visual people, and so and I do agree with you that when I see something visual, even if I think that person posts too much, I will take a look at it. Right. And so how does that work in terms of podcasting? How do you get someone's attention, you know, online to say, and you say a lot in your podcast, in your post, head over to my podcast. So how do you strategically plan your posts so that you're not out there too much,
spinning in the wind.
Spinning in the wind, and to get someone to go over to your podcast?
And like Linda says, and like you said, we have the attention span that less of a goldfish, which is 7 seconds. So we've got to stop the scroll. So to stop the scroll, images, memes, GIFs, videos, anything that's going to stop. And like you said, those headlines, because you know, you think about it in the grocery store. Remember that what they call the rag mags? They would get you to buy because they had some outlandish headline. So when I'm posting my content, whether it's a blog post or a podcast, I'm going to change up the titles. I'm going to change up the pictures so it does not look redundant.
The same, exactly.
I'm sending you to the same spot day after day, week after week, year after year. But there's a different picture.
That's right.
And it's a different headline.
Good point.
So really quickly, before we have to go to break, we all talk about the experience. So how do you touch and feel someone online? Because in a brick and mortar experience, you know, somebody comes to your place of business, you have an opportunity to create like an in-person experience. But how do you do that? How do you do that touchy-feely online? You know, I know we talked about headlines, but
one of the ways is to show your face. A lot of people are reluctant, business owners especially. I don't look good, I don't take good pictures, but people like to look at faces.
People relate to people.
They relate to people, and so no matter what you think you look like, as long as you're authentic and you put your picture out there, that's going to help people make that connection.
Yes, that's a great tip.
So what do you say to that person, though? That's interesting you brought that up. So and I wasn't always confident, you know, putting myself out there, believe it or not. I know Antionette's looking at me like, really? So what do you say to that person that is not confident, but you know that social media will help their business?
Well, just like you see on commercials, they have advocates. So whether it's your employees doing behind the scenes things, or you've hired someone or a blogger to do it.
All right. Well, we are regretfully out of time for this segment, and we've shared a lot and learned a lot of information on content marketing and creation. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about how to leverage content marketing for authors.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes, and you come to mine. This is it. first impression. My way in. But here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, the commitment, the drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent like me.
Welcome back to the Co-Marketing Master Show. I am your host, Kathleen Driver, here with Co-Marketing Master Antionette Blake and our special guest, Linda Griffen, Content Marketing Specialist with Grassroots Marketing Systems, LLC. While we've learned so much about content creation and marketing in our first segment, now we'd like to discuss the importance and benefits of leveraging published books with content marketing and podcasting. Linda and I are both published authors, so I'm excited about this segment and learning more about how to leverage ourselves as authors. And Antionette is, of course, our podcasting master. So, ladies, how can content creation and content marketing and podcasting be used to leverage an author's visibility and book sales? Because, you know, as an author, I think, Linda, you and I can agree,
yes,
we don't get rich by selling books.
That's right.
But how can we leverage ourselves? I'm going to start with you, and then Antionette, tell us how, you know, we can fold in podcasting as an author. So, Linda.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, Kathleen, unless you're Stephen King or Tony Robbins, you're not going to make $1 million from your book. But your book can make you $1 million because you can leverage that content. And the way that you do that is by putting bits and pieces out there, not just selling your book itself, because that's one stream of income, but creating multiple streams of income. One of the ways I like to use a book is as a calling card. Now, a book, if you're a published author, doesn't cost you that much to get an author copy. But if you put that book in the mail to your prospect, who might be a couple of $1,000 consulting engagement, that book puts you head and shoulders above your competition.
Absolutely, and I've done that. So that I have done where other folks are at a networking event, handing out business cards. Guess what I'm handing out?
Your book.
I'm handing out my book.
That's
because again, that's the competitive advantage.
That's right.
So people are, how are you going to give away your book for free? Watch me.
Yes, that's right.
Watch how this works.
That's right.
So Antionette, then how then as an author, how can we leverage, being an author with podcasting? Because it's something I've been considering, but I just haven't figured out the whole way to blend being an author and a podcaster. So what would you say to Linda and me as authors?
Well, first of all, congratulations to Linda and Kathleen. Linda knows I'm working on a book, right?
That's right.
I'm finally going to do it. So I'm learning from you too.
Awesome.
But audio, as we were talking about people being multi-dimensional, sometimes we just don't have time or won't take the time to sit and read a book. Therefore, if you've created a podcast around your book or topics, problems that you're trying to solve, that gives you another tool, another marketing tool to get a different audience. So creating a podcast, say for example, you have a series of books and you want to promote them, then you could create a series of podcasts. If you're in collaboration with other authors, you could create an author's roundtable, an author's chat where you're discussing each other's books. As the host, you're promoting your book, you're promoting your guest book, and you're talking about it, and you're getting more. It's almost like a ripple effect. You throw the pebble in the pond, you get more of a wider audience.
That's right.
So create a podcast, an author's podcast, where you're inviting, and like you said, guests. People want to share their books. So that's another way that you can get your book out there by creating a weekly podcast, a series, an online with a book club. So using
is
a
that
podcast,
almost like a virtual book tour?
Yes.
You know,
and you can turn that into a tour.
Because as authors, you know, we're always going to book club, you know, on site in people's homes, book clubs, and you know, even like professional events. But it sounds like what you're suggesting is almost like a virtual book tour.
Yes.
And then you're inviting other authors
Exactly.
to join the tour.
That's right.
I like that.
And
I
that's
like that.
another way to promote.
Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely
because
right.
it's all about
Yeah.
collaboration.
That's right.
You know, because nothing happens, you know, success is not by yourself.
No,
Right.
there's a,
And
leave a
so,
trail.
and you know, and I believe that there's enough of everything
Yes.
to
Yes.
go around, and we can
Yes.
all be successful.
That's right.
So then my next question is, and it's sort of like the same question I asked about content creation. So as a business owner, should my published book be directly related to my business? And let me tell you why I asked that question. Because I've written 6 books. 2 of them, well, 3 of them are under a pen name because they're totally unrelated to anything that I do. And if you read them, you would know why they're written under a pen name. So, and I think you have.
have,
Yeah,
I
you
have,
have.
yes.
So, you know, as a business owner, you know, and leveraging my book and, you know, podcasting, should it be directly related to my business? Are there like pros and cons to, you know, always having my book be directly related to my business, or something totally different? So what do you
Yes,
think, Linda?
Absolutely. Well, the first question you should ask is, what do you want that book to do for you and your business? So I have a client who actually works for a nonprofit right now. She used to own her own business, which was almost like an automotive type business. So she's writing a book about how a small business can get publicity by partnering with nonprofits. So it's not directly related to the job that she's doing today, but it will capture the audience that she's trying to capture with her nonprofit. So it's almost like a side thing that she's doing. So the first question you want to ask is, what do I want the book to do for me? If you want the book to get you specific clients, say for your consulting or your coaching business, then yes, it should be about your business, because you want to use that so that they know that you know what you're talking about.
Because writing a book, would you agree, gives you an extra edge of credibility?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because you've taken the time to compile and share your information and your expertise.
That's right. I like to use the example of a dog trainer. So you have 2 dog trainers. They're both really good. They've got good reviews on Yelp, but one of them has written a book about dog training and the other one hasn't. That automatically puts that first person head and shoulders, even if it's a small book. And we're talking books. We're talking small books.
Right,
and we're not talking huge 300-page books.
And because of the overwhelming abundance of information, and people just don't really want to. They don't want to read an encyclopedia.
That's
and I like your idea, your suggestion, Antionette, about the audiobooks.
Yes.
Because you know, I have someone that's trying to encourage me. You know, been encouraging me for a long time to, you know, convert my books to audiobooks. You know, just to make it accessible, because people can listen to it on the commute to work. You know, when they're in the gym and, you know, other things. So Antionette, what's your book? What are you writing about? Do you want to share?
Yes, because I'm a blogger. I've been blogging now since 2012, and I teach blogging, just like you teach and you consult and educate. And I've been giving away content for years. And
that's a book.
That's a book. I have a web book. So I am decided to take that web book and now, you know, put it in something that can be sold, whether online or, you know, and then be able to sell from the stage, because I do a lot of speaking engagements and then I leave. And like I said, with the business card.
Advantage, right? I mean, we need to, I think, leverage all of our information.
Yes.
And this is why we're having this conversation, because, you know, I was giving content away. I was giving stuff away, and I was like, well, you know, maybe I should write about it. So I like that idea, you know, of, you know, being able to do that. So, Linda, what is your book about? What is the title of your book?
My book is actually called Book Smart, and it is directly related to my business because it is my process that I use with private clients, and it takes them from the idea to holding their book in their hand. But I love what Antionette said about the podcast, because the other thing I say is start with whatever you have.
Exactly.
If you have blog posts, start with those as the basis. If you have podcasts, get those transcribed, and that can be the basis of your book.
Because books are a compilation of information.
That's right.
Or stories.
That's
and I'm a
right.
fiction writer as
That's
well.
right.
I mean, so it's really a compilation of stories, experiences, you know, just facts and figures and tips and tricks. I mean, it sounds like your book you know, has some ideas, you know, and some guidance for people who want to write.
Right.
So I want to piggyback on what Linda said when answering your question about keeping it within your business or your niche. I always use the term leaving your legacy. So how do you want to be remembered? What is the dash in between? So if your books are written because of this particular topic, because this is what you're good at, is that the legacy in which you want to leave?
Right. Well, you know, we can't close out this show without this last question. What is your best advice, Linda, to authors who really want to be successful as it relates to content creation, content marketing, and then we'll ask about podcasting?
Well, the biggest thing is consistency. I hope I didn't steal
No,
yours.
you didn't steal it.
Consistency, because the worst thing you can do is put out a blog post today and then 6
And
months
people don't
from
hear
now
from you.
that people
Guilty.
haven't heard
Yeah, see,
from
that's
you.
me, and that's why I'm asking about
so
all this.
what I tell people is be realistic. Don't say I'm going to blog every day when you know you're not. Say you're going to blog once a month. If you can consistently blog once a month, that's 12 articles you've got at the end of the year. And people get used to saying, okay, Kathleen's going to send me something once a month.
Exactly.
So
Right.
be realistic about what you can do within your schedule, and then be consistent with that.
So, and that's consistent too with, because I'm, you know, I said I was a business coach. I'm also a writing coach like yourself. And the question I get all the time from people is, where do I start? So if you're a writer, don't you need to write?
Yes.
You know, and so I ask people all the time, what if, you know, and I encourage folks. I think everybody has a book, but you know, where is it? Where, you know, if you want to be a writer, you have to start by writing. You know, writers write.
Right.
So Antionette, what about the success for authors in podcasting? What best advice would you give someone in terms of how to leverage themselves as a podcaster and an author?
And as an author, you're already successful because you've written words that people want to read and you're changing someone's life. And that's what I say, you have a voice. And you'd be surprised, you know, with all the anger, anxiety, and angst in the world, people are looking for positivity. So if you have something positive to say, something positive to write, please share it. Don't leave this world without sharing the gift of your voice, of your words.
And I definitely agree with that,
right.
because as I mentioned, I do think everybody has something valuable
Yes.
to share. You know, again, whether that's, you know, a fiction story that, you know, is going to be entertaining, if it's a book on, you know, how to get from point A to point B, you know, if it's, you know, following your passion, because I mean, both of you all's passion definitely comes out. I mean, your passion for podcasting, your passion for book coaching, it definitely comes out. So I think that gives you all the advantage because when people see you posting, they see that passion coming through the screen. So in that first, you know, 3 or 4 seconds that you have to grab someone's attention, I think the two of you have nailed it. So,
Thank you.
You know, thank you for being on the Co-Marketing Master Show today and for sharing your expertise. And, you know, Linda, give us your website where people can find you.
Yes, people can find me at expertauthor411.com. That's expertauthor, the number 411.com.
And Delaware Blogger, where can people find you?
Delaware Blogger. Use that hashtag Delaware Blogger. I'll pop up all over the place.
All over.
But my website is ablakeenterprises.com.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So, ladies, we've had so much valuable information today, and I can't thank you enough for being on the show. And we're out of time, regretfully, but we want to thank our sponsor today, Krispy Kreme of Capitol Heights. Stop by and say hello to the general manager, Michelle Bell, and her staff, and pick up some nice, hot donuts. And until next time, from the Co-Marketing Masters, and my co-host Darrell Spears is working behind the scenes today. Thank you, Darrell, and we want you to join us next time to learn more about how to master your business. And until next time, keep your marketing in motion.